Hey everyone, and welcome back to Don't Open That Door. I'm Justin, a student, but I'm majoring in underwater philosophy.
I'm Nico, and I'm a transfer student.
I'm Dan, the disgruntled janitor.
And we're here today to discuss a deep cut. We're talking about The Bridge Curse. This was directed by Lester Hsi, and it's starring Ning Chang, Cheng Ko, JC Lin, Summer Meng, Vera Yen, and Wanru Zhan, who you might know. Or you might not. So this movie opens up with some found footage from 2016 of some university students doing what's called a courage test. You see, there's a haunted bridge and some steps that are also haunted. Rumor has it that a woman was dumped by her boyfriend, and as a result of just waiting for him and him never showing up, she jumps into the lake, thereby becoming a vengeful spirit. So at midnight, these students now decide to test it. So Wen Yao, one of them, ascends the steps, but he makes the mistake of counting the steps. His fellow students rush to try and stop him, but they're momentarily distracted and Wen Yao disappears. The students then make a critical misstep by turning around on the staircase, because that is blatantly against the rules. Once you start going up, you can't turn your head. They are ambushed by an unseen force, and then they flee in terror. So we open like that. Dan, what follows?
Well, it turns out that the found footage is somewhat faked. When Wen Yao disappeared, he actually went behind a tree and he used the prop of a ghost to scare his fellow students. After they run away, however, Wen Yao is actually killed by the ghost that haunts the bridge. His fellow students decide to look for him later, and they split up, and San Nu and Teichuan go to look for Wen Yao, while Xin Chao and Yu Qing stay in a really creepy-ass dorm room.
Mm-hmm. Nico, something very critical happens next. What's that?
So something does happen next that's very critical, all due to the linear nature of time. We cut to Sung, and he is taking a dynamo-level shit. He does not get a chance to wipe, but is assaulted by the ghost instead. Still, without taking a chance. You're killing me here. Still without taking a chance to wipe. He's drowned. He's drowned by the ghost, which shoves his head into a bucket full of water. R.I.P. to my man Sung.
Still never wiped.
Literally still never wiped. Christ. San Nu and Teichuan return to the bridge to grab the equipment and search for Wen Yao. They find his cell phone on the ground, but no Wen Yao. Wow.
So we return to the dorm room, and Sen Xiao really has to use the bathroom. So she and Yu Qing head to another bathroom kind of on the opposite side of where Sung was letting off the gargantuan shit earlier. And we then cut to basically Teichuan. So Teichuan is telling San Nu the true story of what happened to the ghost, because it turns out the little rumor from earlier wasn't entirely true. It turns out that this woman was going to elope with her boyfriend, and she was waiting for him on the bridge. She waited till midnight and then started to climb up the steps. As she hit the 13th step, however, she was captured by 5 men, sexually assaulted, and then drowned. This is why she kind of became like a malicious spirit. And since then, at midnight, she's haunted the bridge. So that's fairly sobering.
But at midnight on what day, though?
Oh, I'm sorry. Midnight, February 29th. Every leap year. Very good point, Dan. So, Nico, what happens after that? Back to the bathroom.
Flashback to Nico, and I'm in the bathroom. Oh, Christ. Why did I say that? Flashback to the bathroom, and Yu Qin pranks Xin Chao. Xin Chao leaves, and Yu Qin is attacked by a demonic Sung. San Nu and Teichuan hop on a demonic elevator afterwards. How quaint. Xin Chao is attacked by the ghost in the dorm room, but Yu Qin comes to her rescue, and the two of them run away. San Nu and Teichuan continue to explore the dorm, and they become separated, and Teichuan chases after what appears to be Wen Yao. Sanu is, meanwhile, locked in a room and attacked by mannequins. Taeshuan then comes to her rescue, and the two of them run away.
So, Dan, I mean, the two of them run away, and what happens, basically?
So now Yu Chin and Xin Chao are trapped in an infinite staircase. They're trying to run down and down to get out of this building, but despite going down, they just wind up on the roof somehow. So Xin Chao is pushed off the roof by the ghost, and Yu Chin is alone, and she gets drowned by the ghost in a water tower. The ghost kind of like creeps up and like pulls her up into the water tower and just drowns her in there. So now we skip back over to Sanu and Taeshuan. They follow a fake Xin Chao out of the building, but before Taeshuan realizes that something is wrong. Sanu is then grabbed by an unseen force, and the real Xin Chao finds herself at the bridge and sees Yu Chin there. Yu Chin had just died by drowning, and she is attacked and seemingly killed by the ghost, and now only Taeshuan remains.
All right. Nico, finally out of the bathroom. How does this movie wrap up?
Believe it or not, there is never a wipe. So while this has been going on, there have been intermittent cuts to the present, where a reporter has been investigating the 2016 disappearances of the 5 students. After an investigation, she realizes that there were, in fact, 6 students. But the identity of the 6th is a mystery. Her cameraman goes to set up a shot at the bridge when she uncovers the truth. It turns out that Taeshuan lived, and we see him beg the ghost, and he makes a deal with the ghost that every leap year, he would bring in 5 victims. Unfortunately, the realization comes too late as Taeshuan reappears and kills the reporter, and the movie ends with Taeshuan leading 5 more victims to the bridge.
All right. So before we get any further, I do want to address a couple points with the audience. First, as always, we apologize for any names that we butcher. We do try, though. We do try. Secondly, you may have noticed in our description, we didn't list, which actor played which character. That's because we couldn't find it. Like, straight up. And then
We looked.
on the actual movie itself, the problem is half of the credits are in, I forget the exact language, but half the credits are not in English and the other half are. So I can't read it. So I couldn't really do anything about it. I tried doing some picture comparisons, but like people change hair colors, they look different. So no, I wasn't about to do that. So we just listed the actors. And third is the synopsis may have seemed a little more disjointed than our standard here, Don't Open That Door. That's just because the movie itself was fairly disjointed and constantly jumping around from time to time and place to place. More on that later. Let's start with the audio here. And Nico, I kind of want to talk to you about the big elephant in the room, which is this movie incorporates, at least at the start, a fair deal of found footage. So why don't you go ahead and tell us about the visuals, maybe with a little focus on that.
Okay, sure. As far as the found footage goes, it doesn't look nearly as old as something like Blair Witch Project, perhaps. It does certainly have sort of a modern standard that it more or less lives up to in terms of just the fidelity of everything. So that much is at least pleasant during the portion of the film that we are sort of led to understand it as a found footage film. But in terms of the rest of the visuals, I thought they were all right. They were nothing really to write home about. And, sometimes that's just fine.
Okay. Dan, quick question for you now. Because I know we kind of off camera, off pod, if you will, we discussed the found footage stuff a little bit. What was your particular take on it and the rest of the visuals?
So I thought that the found footage was a little jarring because there's a few different types of found footage. Sort of at the very, very beginning, you see a cell phone video footage, and the screen is much smaller. It only takes up maybe the center third of the actual screen. And then we also have the scenes of the reporter, and most of those scenes, like in the current timeline in 2020, most of the scenes from there are also filmed footage from the cameraman, who we later find out is Taeshuan. So that is also a different type of found footage, but it's a wider camera. It takes up most of the screen, but not all. And then there's also the regular cinematic, normal movie
Film.
Yeah, just the regular film. And that is very cinematic looking, like the color grading on it, how they treated that looks very cinematic. So, kind of jumping between those three different types of footage to me was pretty jarring. Now, I do think it gets a little bit better later on because do it a little bit less. There's less cell phone footage. I think it's only the first maybe 15, 20 minutes that actually have cell phone footage. So then we're really just jumping between the reporter cameraman footage and the normal film, which is a little different, but it's a little bit better, in my opinion. So I found it a little jarring.
All right, all right. And I want to change tones here and start talking about a little bit of the audio. So, from my perspective, it was kind of one of those it's best if you don't notice it type things. And I couldn't really say too much of it super jumped out to me, but at the same time, I'm not going to hold that against the movie. You know what I mean?
We should come up with a term for that because it happens so often.
There's probably a term out there, but I
should
have no
just-
idea what it is.
We should just call it like real G's move in silence. And that
right.
just be what it is. But no. So, Nico, what are your thoughts?
I thought it was fine. Yeah, this was another example of, like we have now established, real G's moving in silence like lasagna. And it is, I can't believe I just fucking said that. It's one of those situations where you don't really think about it too much. The levels are all fine. I didn't notice any terrible, like, ADR or anything. Yeah, it was serviceable.
Dan, your thoughts?
I actually thought the audio was pretty good. The
right.
music, as established, it was more atmospheric, and there was I don't ever remember like an actual like melody anywhere. It's mostly atmospheric strings and things like that, percussion sounds to drive up the anticipation and action. But from a technical standpoint, I thought all the dialogue and everything actually sounded pretty darn good.
All right. Well, those are the technical strokes kind of nailed down there. So let's go ahead and change gears. This movie, as we said before, contains time skips. We are constantly skipping between the years 2016, which is where the bulk of the story takes place, 2020 with the reporter, and occasional flashes to 2012. So, how do we feel about this kind of time skipping all over the place, particularly because we often would get scenes of, our heroes or the main characters in 2016, and the reporter will kind of be sprinkled throughout or like interspersed throughout the scenes. Dan, did you like that? Did you dislike that? How'd you feel about it?
I thought it was okay. I thought it was fairly easy to follow. It's pretty obvious to me when the skips happen because we're looking at different characters and different. I don't quite want to say different setting because it is the reporter is investigating in that school and going to the same places, but it looks different. It's different people. So I personally kind of followed the time skip fairly well, and I thought it was okay. And to me, it was kind of cool to see the action happening back in 2016, and then we skip over to 2020. Now you see the rooms maybe a little bit more dilapidated or whatever, and we're kind of revisiting and rediscovering what happened back then. The one part that kind of got me was, I don't know that we really went too deep into it with the synopsis, but kind of twist of the film is that this happened in 2012 as well. And this whole bridge curse, murder ghost thing. Near the end, we see that a couple of the scenes that we've seen before at the beginning of the film were actually from 2012, not just 2016, but both. And that kind of was a little confusing, I think, to watch that. The film did try to show you, and they labeled which year, which scene was in, but it was still a little weird. But for most of the movie, I thought the time skip was fine.
I guess from my perspective, I considered it to be a cool idea about the time skips going kind of all over the place back and forth. However, I thought the execution sometimes was a little bit maimed. First off, it was almost kind of like a sucker punch because Xian Xiao, she was like the original tribute of the ghost. In 2012, she's the one who survives by offering the ghost victims, basically. And she does it again in 2016 until she's replaced by the lead here at H1. So I wanted to know, first off, the movie, there's like one particular scene where Xin Xiao is like filming and we think it's from 2016, but in reality, It's from 2012. There's another kind of scene like that where she's on the bridge and we think it's 2016 because it looks just like it, right? Like it looks exactly like the scene, but it's actually from 4 years previous. I didn't necessarily know. I don't know. To me, it kind of felt almost like a cheap shot. It's like, hey, you would have had no way of knowing this, but here you go. Like this is something else. So I don't know. I had mixed feelings about that. But Nico, I'm sure you can correct me there.
I don't know about correct, but I did like it, which I'm sure y'all both saw coming. This rang similar to when we watched Ju-on for the pod way back when. There were some elements of sort of like time skipping around that, and it just was a sort of a really interesting way to frame watching this through that kind of reference point. That juxtaposition there is just particularly enjoyable to me. But I also I kind of thought of it as I was joking about this a couple minutes ago. This is like some Kara no Kyokai. If that means anything to you, you would probably enjoy this movie.
And so I was thinking about this a little bit here. Dan, so you know Xian Xiao is streaming, right? Like she's always
Right.
streaming in this movie. How did you feel about the addition of a character like that who was always streaming, or shall I say the addition of streaming? How'd you like that? Do you think it's more realistic to have somebody who's like kind of live streaming always? Because there were little comments and stuff popping up as well. You know, when the ghost shows up, or the fake
Mm.
ghost, I should say, someone's like, "You can see it in the corner. It's like right there." So I
Yeah.
thought that was kind of funny, personally.
I thought it was an interesting kind of addition. And at first, I thought it was kind of gimmicky because I feel that the movie could have been done just as effectively without that. And it almost made her character seem a little, I don't know, gimmicky is the best word I can think of. But then the
Mhm.
more I thought about it, the more I was like, well, I guess that is becoming a more real thing like all the time. And I mean maybe not so much in like public school, but they're never in class or anything that we see. So yeah, I mean there are people who just constantly film people. When I'm hanging out with people, sometimes people do go on IG live or do whatever occasionally, like not like all the time and not in a disrespectful way. Everyone asks, hey, are you cool with being on stream or whatever, but it's becoming a more and more common thing. So I don't know how I feel about it yet. I guess I'm kind of in the in between where I'm changing the way I think about it, I guess.
All right, cool, Dan. That's a good point, Dan. That's a good point. Nico, ghost streams, is that the newest thing that's going to hit Twitch? Do you think?
I mean, I'm gonna be real with you. I feel like this movie took the concept of like using social media and streaming and did it way fucking better than Unfriended ever did.
Oh well, yeah.
Pew 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 pew. Shots fired.
Like, one, go back and listen to that episode. It's fun. But two, it was much more of an active thing versus in Unfriended. It was just part of the window dressing, like, oh, this is all happening on a Skype call. But like here, it's like, oh, this is happening like in time with everything that's going on. And I actually found it to be pretty compelling.
I think one other thing we definitely have to talk about is this courage test that is apparently happening at this school. So I guess, Dan, can you tell me what a courage test is, or at least what it appears to be?
Not really. So I mean I guess it's like it almost seems like a cross between like a senior prank and like hazing people or something to me, where I guess they took like undergrads or younger students and they basically pulled a prank on them. And in this case, the prank was, hey, there's this supposedly haunted bridge and you got to walk up the steps and don't get killed by the ghost or whatever, which obviously turns out to be true. But and I remember they said like there was a little competition between different schools or something, or they're like, oh, this other university has been more popular in their courage test this year. Like there's so many views, or we got to one up them or something. So I don't know if that's maybe just a different culture thing that people in Taiwan do versus here in America we don't. We again maybe I guess more of hazing or like a prank or something, senior prank, but I couldn't quite grasp exactly what that was or like whether the school like allows it or like I don't know.
I was somewhat torn. I did a little bit of research, And I found like kind of like a Japanese equivalent. That was basically what I found most of. But it seemed to me that I don't know if it was necessarily hazing. It may seem like that to us here from our perspective, because I know that like at our universities and stuff like that, we have that here. But it almost seemed, I guess it's kind of like what I was reading about made it seem like it was kind of group building or something else like that too, like kind of strengthening a bond and whatnot. But then again, I'm no expert and my research was not conclusive. So if anyone wants to drop us a line and let us know exactly what a courage test is, we'd be more than happy to learn.
I actually have an idea.
Oh, go ahead, Nico.
So I'm almost positive that it is made up for the film. Don't quote me on that, but like I'm pretty sure it's just made up for the film. In particular, though, what it rings true of is it rings true of like folklore, folk legends and shit. Like this reads to me kind of similar to like the legend of the Jersey Devil or something, or the like fucking Mothman, kind of similar vibe things. Like, oh, there's this one part of town in Pennsylvania that's always on fire forever and ever, and that's the sort of inspiration for all the weird kooky shit that's happening. And I feel like this is just the sort of folklore du jour that was going on in the town.
Well, I think that's what the bridge curse itself is. But I guess the question is, what is, like, just on a more macro level, what is a courage test? Because different universities and different things seem to also do courage tests, but they wouldn't be doing it at that bridge.
I think it's basically like a close thing you could think of would be like Vine. Like, do it for the Vine. That's the way I took it,
Yes.
honestly. Like, do like it could be just a fucking meme going around.
And it was interesting because at one point, I could have sworn one of the characters was like, so they get put in this like really shitty ass dorm. And I could have sworn one of the characters was like complaining, like, oh, why did we get assigned to this dorm or something?
Yes, that was
makes-
Yu Chin.
Yeah, which makes me think that the school put them in the dorm for that courage test. But I also can't imagine the school being like, oh, you want to go on this haunted bridge that they literally say later on in the movie that it's like closed down and like students aren't supposed to go there. So I'm like, I don't.
That's some
quite
real
know.
Potomac shit.
Oh shit, true. So I have a question for you guys. As I said earlier, because I reveal all, I'm like the arcana, the truth by which all is
hell.
revealed. So we know that Xian Chao, she is the traitor in the group, right? How did you feel about that reveal, particularly when you go back and rewatch some of those scenes? You know, there's the scene at the start where they're like, wait, who said we were going to go to the bridge for our courage challenge? And she jumps in, she's like, let's not discuss that, because she doesn't want them to realize that she was the one who put it up. And there's a couple times where she, you know, I guess doesn't do certain things. I don't know. But then again, it kind of weirded me out because she gets attacked by the ghost, which really weirded me out, because then I was like, wait, you were working for the ghost. What happened? So I don't know.
I don't quite want to say like I called it, but near
You
the
called it.
beginning, there's a part where she and Taechuan used to be in a relationship, and it looks, I think he dumped her, and they're having a conversation, and she's like, "I'll give you one more chance," and he's like, "No, I'm not interested." And then she's like, as he leaves, she kind of mutters like, "Oh, well, you can go to hell" or something. Except they make it a big deal about her saying that and like zoom in on her face and everything. And I was like, oh, okay, I didn't quite expect exactly what happened, but I was like, all right, there's definitely something with her going on. She's involved somehow. And its explanation as to why the ghost attacked her too. Only thing I can think of is she does mention near the end that she's been trying to, like, she doesn't want to do this. She doesn't really want to kill everyone, and that she's tried to die and she's tried to escape this, you know, being haunted by the ghost, but she can't. So the ghost isn't necessarily nice to her either, I would guess, or she's not nice to the ghost. So maybe the ghost just took the opportunity to fuck her up. I don't know.
You know what this kind of reminds me of in a weird way?
What's that?
Bly Manor.
How so?
You're gonna have to explain that one.
Yeah, so there's a ghost that's going around some sort of haunted area, in this case it's the Bly Manor, and here it's that fucking stairwell by the lake. There is this idea of the curse that's coming back to haunt previous generations, or Christ, haunt future generations. Sorry, linear nature time got me all fucked up there. And there is this sort of transferal of that menacing presence from one person into the other, sort of with how in Bly there was, what was her name? The main character. She sort of inherits the curse from Viola at the end, as does with Taeshuan here. It's kind of gothic now that I say all of that out loud.
I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with that because I feel like most of those points are just general ghost stories of something haunting a place and haunting future generations. Like if something is haunting a place, it kind of by default has to haunt future generations.
Time.
And I guess.
Does it though? Do we know that?
All right, well, check it out. Check it out.
If something is haunting something,
If I
it can
feel like,
only.
all right, I'm good then. I got you. I don't care about your kids.
No. I'm saying that ghost, you said it was haunting future generations, but really, it's just haunting whoever comes by the bridge. And I mean, like, if you're haunting a place and you haunt it for long
True.
enough, new people will come to the bridge.
I mean, yeah, true, but that still means it affects people in the future.
Right, as do all ghosts.
All ghosts.
All
affect
ghosts
people
are
in
from the
future.
past because they were dead.
You got me.
And now we're in
fucked
the
up.
future compared to the ghost point of view.
Well, speaking of the ghost point of view, Dan, don't stop there because I have a question
All
for
right, I
you.
won't stop.
The ghost couldn't stop. Like, there was no way to stop this ghost,
No.
realistically, once it started. Also, the ghost, it seemed like this story was centered around that bridge area. But no, the ghost is freeballing out here. Like, the ghost can attack you anywhere. So my question is, how do you feel about that? Kind of the rules of this haunting and the ghost being able to attack you from anywhere.
So, as I watched the movie, I didn't particularly think about that. And I wasn't really bothered by it. And then after I watched the movie, I was thinking about it. I was like, wait, this ghost can do like anything and everything it wants to. I mean,
Yeah.
the different hauntings we see mannequins sort of come alive. It looks like the ghost can make people like hallucinate or, see things that aren't there. It can affect real world. Like it can make things move. It can turn off lights and shit, like regular haunting kind of shit. It can throw people off a building. It can drown. It can do like fucking anything. And it manifests in like water too. Like there's a lot of times where you see like water leaking from the ceiling or wherever, like a really dirty kind of moldy water. And it doesn't really make sense when you think about it. Because like you said, the ghost, I guess the bridge is where the ghost, where it triggers the ghost. And then after that, the ghost is just free to, I don't know, haunt you or fuck you up wherever you want, but wherever it wants. But I don't know. This is one where the more I think, the less I like the idea of that ghost powers because it doesn't have a rule set.
Agreed. But Nico, I posit this theory to you, sir. How do you think it would go if you managed to avoid the ghost for a day?
I think it'd be fine.
And it's no longer a leap year. Could it still feasibly haunt you at that point? Because it seems like the ghost only haunts on February 29th.
Yeah, I mean, I would just like not go back to that bridge in 4 years.
I don't know if it only haunts February 29th. Maybe that's only when it starts to haunt, but both Xin Chao and Taeshuan said that like because they are the ones who are sort of taking over for the ghost, they both said, I have nightmares all the time. I can't sleep really. I want to kill I don't know if they said kill themselves, but like they want to die and get rid of this ghost. So maybe the ghost does actually have some sort of power outside of February 29th.
I guess that's fair. So one thing I had a question about here, and I'm going to direct this towards you, Nico, actually. How original do you consider this movie to be? And I kind of want to frame this in the context of both the plot and the kind of scares or horrific things that happen in this movie. How do you consider this?
I mean, I don't think it's terribly original. It's obviously spreading its list of influences with a pretty wide net. And I think that's fine. You know, like we said earlier, it has some elements of found footage, and with all of this other stuff being like ghost story, social media, something bonanza. Like, I think there are a lot of elements at play here. And honestly, this is a little bit of a preview for my score, but like, I just kind of think that this movie is just like turn off your brain for a little bit and enjoy some dumb fun. So it works for me.
All right, I'm gonna say my piece here real quick. I don't think this movie is very original at all. The one saving grace being the time jumping. I think that was maybe to me a kind of real deviation from the norm. Again, not that it's something I haven't seen before, but I appreciate it. You know, the effort that went into the time jumping and like formulating the plot around that. But for me, you know, like there's a scene where Sung is in the bathroom and he pulls up like the really long hair, and that's like a real classic trope right there. There's even, you know, like just the ghost haunting the bridge, that in and of itself right there, like that's a massive trope. Everybody know that you don't fuck with a bridge. Just straight up, you don't.
Ghosts don't come out bridge.
Bro, no, but ghosts do come down step. And that's what you really got to look out for.
True.
So I don't know. I didn't think it was really super original, but I could be wrong. Dan, thoughts?
I think it's an acceptable level of original and not original. I'm kind of down the middle because I mean, there's very few movies that are totally original. And like, yes, you know, the ghost does have like long hair, which definitely is a trope, but what horror movie doesn't have tropes in it? You know, we talk about Final Girl, we talk about like all these different tropes in films, and I mean, a lot of films have those tropes. So, and I mean, a ghost, you know, you could talk about like hauntings, like haunting movies, possession movies, they all haunt something. So in this case, it's a bridge, which you're right, is a common thing to haunt, but so are houses. And so I don't know. I just think that a lot of films have about the same amount of originality. Maybe this one is a little less original, but I thought it was okay. I kind of err on Nico's side on this one. I think it was sort of a don't think too hard about it, and I didn't feel like I had to think too hard about it, and I thought it was, you know, decent for that.
All right. And one last thing here. Do you have any favorite deaths?
I'm gonna have to say the monstrous shit scene.
I was also gonna say the monstrous shit.
And then he gets his head shoved in a bucket and drowned. I'm gonna have to go with that one.
Yeah. Much as it pains me to admit it, yeah.
Quick question: do we ever see Sanu directly die? I know that we see Sanu get kind of yanked by the ghost. Like, we're told that she dies, but did we ever see her die directly?
I don't think so. Yeah, she gets yeeted over towards the bridge, and then next time we see her, she's already like dead, zombie, whatever. I don't know what you would call that state, but
You know, I don't think we really see any kind of real gore or serious violence in this.
no, I don't think. Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think there's really any
Good
gore.
point, yeah.
That's crazy.
I don't remember very much blood at all now that you mention it.
Yeah, right? Interesting. So it's time for the what would you do? This is going to be blissfully short. The three of us decide to do a test of courage, and somebody goes, "Hey guys, you want to check out this haunted bridge?"
Nope.
What's the official "Don't Open That Door" response?
Hell no.
Nope.
Well, there you go. That's it from "Don't Open That Door." But just to say, you know, whatever. So, you know, we all get called along, and someone's like, "Yo, you want to go on like a little bit of a walk with me? I want to go grab some frozen Bogurt from Bevan
Bogurt?
11."
Bogurt?
You couldn't just say yogurt for that one?
No,
Would that be too bogus?
Oh.
no.
Oh.
So we're walking to 7-Eleven here. No, Bevan 11. And we grab the Bogurt and we're walking
I
back.
literally never want to hear someone say the words grab the Bogurt again. Ever after that.
Is that like great value Go-Gurt?
I'm just thinking right now of Gogurt, and it's not good. So we're cutting back, and there's this bridge, right? And they're like, "Oh, just walk over the bridge and go up the steps." So we end up doing that, and like, "Oh, by the way, you're haunted as shit now." So we're haunted by the ghost, and we see like the ghost, like is haunting people, murking people, all that. What's your stratagem here to stay alive? Do we stick together?
First of all, yes. But do we know like the lore behind this ghost? Do we know that it haunts people on leap year?
We were doing our flashcards before this exact moment.
Yeah, so we go back to the dorms, and our RA basically is like, yo, y'all didn't know about that? And like tells us the whole story.
Yeah, if we knew that it was February 29th, I would just try to fucking like stay in the fucking that dorm all by ourselves playing Super Smash Brothers or something all night. Mario Kart, Mario Bart until February, or not February 30th. Wow. March 1st.
Mega ultra leap year. Only happens every 100 years.
The ghost would be like, what is this day? 5.
No, like we like the day goes by again, and we're like, we survived. The ghost is like, no, it's double leap year. I'm twice as powerful now. It's like a double rainbow. It's the only thing that can defeat the ghost. But no, I mean, okay. I think that's pretty fair. And secondly, and this is my question, would you try and like, because they were still on a campus, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you not try and like go get help? I know they got trapped in the building or whatever, but like multiple times, like even when TH1 was like outside, I feel like I would have gone to get help. And when Sanu got yanked, I'd have been like, damn, I am so sorry. And then I would have like gone to go like go tell somebody. I'd have been like, yo, like this is real.
I feel like if you told like security or something that, they would just hit you with a damn, that's crazy. And you'd be like, all right,
Real shit though.
well, I'm fucked.
Yeah, that's my take on it. But let's go ahead now and avert our eyes, and then re-avert. What's the opposite of avert, Nico?
Revert.
Nope, re-avert.
Vert. Lil Uzi. Comma.
All right, we'll bevert our eyes to the Rotten Tomatoes page. So we're going to do a little combination here. This movie has
Tomatoes.
23%
Ouch.
from the audience on Rotten Tomatoes.
Damn.
No critic score. And on IMDb, we've got a more reasonable 5.3 out of 10, 53. Where does this movie rank for you? And I feel like I got to start with our general, our commander-in-chief, Nico. Where does this movie rank for you? Like what general thoughts and what's the score?
Well, thank you for basking me, bussin'.
That's what I do.
I'm gonna go take a shower real quick. We're just gonna pause the podcast there. And, oh, buddy. I think I'm gonna give this a 69.
Nice.
Shut the fuck up.
I had a nice time with this. I really did. It was dumb fun. I knew that I didn't really have to put too much investment into any one major character. I just thought it was fun. I really just thought it was fun.
All right. Me personally, I'm giving this one a 54. I think that for me, this is as average gets.
Which is why it's 4 points above that.
Well, I give it the extra points for the whole kind of like time travel shenanigans, but
I feel you.
literally, if there wasn't the time travel, but like the time jumping back and forth, I think this would have been a little more boring. I mean, it forced me to pay attention. I think generally speaking, and this is something that I can't count against the movie, but coming from an English speaking audience, sometimes the names were a little hard to keep track of. And obviously, once again, this is not in any way held against the movie. There's a character, Sanu, that's like a nickname. She also goes by another name, and she's referred to by both sometimes. And it confused the shit out of me. But by and large, I thought this was literally average as average gets, not really holding it up against anything else. I just think, hey, you know what? If I was bored and I wanted to watch a ghost story, this is a passable ghost story for me. So 53, and that's a good 53, not a bad one.
Oh, you dropped it down a point.
54.
4. Okay.
That's because I was looking at my desktop and there are 3 trees.
Oh, you couldn't just say I was looking at the IMDb score of 53.
Oh my God, is that? Fuck me. That is the IMDb score.
Lamau.
You said that.
You're a fucking fraud, Justin.
No, I'm a bucking broad.
Yep.
Wait. So, replacing everything with B is
That's
a lot more.
worse.
It's a lot more difficult than it seems. Anyways, Dan, you gotta give us your take, bro.
So I agree pretty much with both of you. I'm kind of sort of in the middle. I'm going to give it a 60. I thought it was fairly average in a relatively good way. I mean, it's a fun ghost story movie, and I didn't really think there's anything really bad about it or anything like that. I mean, we talked about a couple things, the found footage being a little jarring and stuff, but overall, I thought it was decent. It was decent. So 60 for me.
All right then. Do we recommend this movie?
I would, surprisingly.
I think I would too.
Yeah, I would too.
Wow. I was surprised.
I think just because at the end of the day, we're a horror podcast. And if you're listening to this or if you're doing anything, it's because you like horror movies. So I almost kind of feel like I was so on the fence about this. But at the end of the day, if you like horror movies or if you want to watch, first off, this might be, unless I'm really mistaking something here, which I might be. I mean, this is a Taiwanese horror movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool to see horror movies from other cultures and shit. So I think that for me, that almost alone makes it worthwhile from a Western perspective to kind of get more knowledge and see more
sure.
from other places. So that alone to me kind of tipped it in the recommend favor. But it's also just a ghost story. It's like bread and butter. You got to get your bread, you got to get your butter. Now, does this get the golden seal though?
No golden seal for me.
So that's going to be an immediate no from me as well. So yeah, this just gets a recommendation, which, in all fairness, we've been trudging through it on the podcast for some of these episodes. So that's pretty good. Pretty good, IMO. Any last thoughts
Take
before
what we get. You're a DOTD.
We do. We take what we get and we give what we get.
We also choose what we get. Meaning we choose
Shit.
the movies that we watch.
Well, all right. Well, if you agreed with us, disagreed with us, or have a comment about the wild start to this episode, go ahead and drop us a line. We're on Twitter and Instagram at DOTD Horror. We're also on Facebook. Don't open that door. That's been it from Nico, Dan, and your boy Jus. Stay safe. Don't fuck with the ghosts. And as always, dear listener, don't open that door. Bye.